The lecture hall fell silent as Commander Zixthor limped onto the stage, his forearms moving with practiced precision, despite the visible scarring that traced across his chitinous exterior. The Galactic Military Academy's amphitheater, capable of holding 3,000 cadets from across 17 species, had never been this quiet. "I am here," the grizzled Krath veteran began, his translator rendering his clicking mandibles into galactic standard, "to tell you about the humans. Not the humans you see in the trade ports smiling and haggling over spices. Not the humans who sing in your entertainment districts or the ones who've integrated into our peaceful society." He paused, his compound eyes scanning the sea of young faces. "I'm here to tell you about the humans at war." A ripple of nervous chittering spread through the audience. Everyone had heard the stories, the whispered legends from the Terran integration wars 3 decades prior. But few had faced them in actual combat. "I was a company leader during the Battle of Kepler 442b. Zixthor continued, pulling up a holographic display that showed a lush green world, a beautiful planet, contested territory. We had 40,000 troops, state-of-the-art equipment, orbital support. The humans had 5,000 defenders, mostly civilians who'd been on the colony for less than 2 cycles. He manipulated the display, showing tactical positions. We expected to overrun them in days. The campaign lasted 9 months. A young Vexian cadet raised a tentacle. "Commander, how is that possible?" "We study human physiology. They're persistence hunters, yes, but they're not particularly strong or fast compared to most warrior species." Zixthor's mandibles clicked in what might have been a bitter laugh. "That's what we thought too, cadet. We learned differently." He pulled up an image of a human soldier, face painted in bizarre patterns, eyes reflecting an almost predatory gleam. "Humans don't fight like we do. When a Krath warrior is wounded, we retreat to heal. When a Threxian loses a limb, their combat ineffective. When a human is wounded..." He trailed off, his eyes growing distant. "I watched a human female take a plasma round through her abdomen. Do you know what she did? She cauterized her own wound with a torch and continued fighting for 3 more hours. She eliminated 17 of my soldiers before she finally collapsed." The hall erupted in disbelieving chatter. Zixthor waited for silence. Humans have a phrase on fight or flight. Most species choose flight when faced with overwhelming odds. It's logical, it's survival. Humans have a third option we never accounted for: spite. He pulled up another image showing a collapsed bunker. This position was held by one human male for 6 days. He had no food, limited water, and his communication equipment was destroyed. He could have surrendered. Instead, he turned the entire bunker into a trap. When my squad finally breached it, we found him dead from his injuries. But he'd rigged every door, every corridor, every piece of equipment. He killed 11 of my soldiers after his own death. Zixthor's voice dropped. He even left a message on the wall. "Come get some." A Delphanian cadet, her blue skin paling, asked quietly, "Commander, how do you fight an enemy like that?" "That's the question that haunted us for 9 months," Zixthor replied. "We had superior numbers, superior technology, superior position. But humans have something we didn't understand then." He tapped his chest. "They call it the human spirit, but it's more than that. It's a fundamental refusal to accept defeat." He brought up a final image, a group of human civilians armed with improvised weapons, standing in front of their settlement. These weren't soldiers. They were farmers, teachers, engineers. But when we moved on their town, they didn't evacuate. They didn't negotiate. His voice grew hoarse. They made us pay for every meter of ground with blood and fire. I lost 60% of my company in that campaign. Not to superior tactics or better weapons, but to sheer unrelenting human determination. They fought us in the streets, in the sewers, in the burned-out husks of their own homes. When they ran out of ammunition, they used blades. When they ran out of blades, they used their bare hands. When they couldn't fight anymore, they'd collapse on top of their weapons so we couldn't use them. Zixthor deactivated the holograms, the light fading from the center of the stage. The war ended not because we defeated them, but because our governments realized that conquering humanity would cost more than any territory was worth. Every human world would be another Kepler 442b. Millions of lives, decades of warfare, all for planets we'd inherit as graveyards. He moved closer to the edge of the stage, his scarred form casting long shadows. "I see some of you smirking, thinking you'd do better, that your species is stronger, faster, smarter. Maybe you are. But understand this, Humans don't need to be the strongest. They just need to make victory cost more than you're willing to pay. The peace treaty we signed wasn't a victory for either side. It was an acknowledgement of a terrifying truth. Humanity cannot be conquered, only befriended or destroyed. And total destruction of humanity would require a coalition willing to sacrifice more than any rational government would accept. Zixthor straightened despite his injuries, his voice firm. So when you see humans in the corridors of power, when you negotiate with them, when you trade with them, remember what I've told you today. Remember that behind those smiling faces and friendly handshakes is a species that would rather die standing than live kneeling. He began his exit, then paused. One last thing. The human commander who led the defense of Kepler 442b, she survived. She's now the Terran ambassador to the Galactic Council. His mandibles clicked softly. Her name is Sarah Chen. If you ever meet her, look at her left hand. 3 fingers missing, taken by my soldiers. She still refuses to get them regenerated. When I asked her why, she said they serve as a reminder. Zixthor's voice dropped to barely a whisper. A reminder that humans never forget, and they never stop. The hall remained silent long after he left the stage, each cadet contemplating the terrifying truth they'd just learned. Humanity's greatest weapon wasn't technology or strength. It was the absolute refusal to surrender.